Okay, the Stoics represent, I think it's 15 billion investment in Scotland's central belt. From a strategic perspective, what was it that motivated ILI Group to pursue such a large-scale green data center network, at this moment?
Well, we were actually approached by some our colleagues in the Scottish government. We started off as a land-based company, Intelligent Land Investments, been going over 21 years, but we've evolved into a green energy developer. The government, Scottish Enterprise, have been approached by some tier one developers, names that everyone would know, and they were struggling to get good sites. And because that's our USP, is being able to get sites for different types of sectors. We've pivoted into a number of different sectors. We felt we could help, so we went out. We looked at dozens of locations. We whittled those down to what we seen as the eight best locations in Scotland, and we whittled those down again to the three prime sites, and those are the three that we've taken forward. So part of it is where we're located. Part of it was a demand from overseas, and we recognized that. And the more and more we've got into it, the more that we see as Scotland is what we see will be a key location globally for green hyperscale data centers.
Yeah, I mean, following up that point, you've clearly in Scotland got abundant renewable energy, and that's a key factor, I guess, for the project. Any thoughts as to just how critical green energy is when it comes to shaping sort of future of these hyperscale data center developments?
I think it's absolutely critical. I mean, these are huge demand projects. Some people think, well, they're going to take a lot of the renewables off the system. I think otherwise. I think it's going to create more renewables on the system, and that's only going to be good for the UK and globally. So it's just going to generate huge more drive in the economy, which is amazing. Having them green, I think, is absolutely essential. To go down a different route takes us away from net zero, and that's not something that we're keen to look at. So all our sites will be, if not 100% renewable energy, or as close to that as possible. The great thing is our grid is going to be, we're pushing to get net zero on our grid by 2030 UK. So if they're not 100% renewables, they very soon will, because they'll also be connected to the whole grid system as well. So it's essential, absolutely key. And all the developers that we're speaking to, it's a very important aspect point of it.
And more generally, how do you think the Stoics position Scotland within the global data center market? And clearly AI, advanced connectivity are driving demand. So just your thoughts, I guess, as to what it does for the Scottish data center industry.
It's absolutely exploded here, and has globally, as I'm sure you're aware. And I do see, if we move as quick as we're moving, that Scotland will become a global center for data centers like Ireland was there. We've got the renewables, ample of it, and we can do significantly more. So green data centers is what we want. We've got the weather. Obviously doesn't sort the cooling, but certainly has an element of that. So we tick all the boxes, and we have better grid up here than most, because we don't have the same population issues. But yeah, we have the renewable resources. That's probably the key point here.
Okay, and in terms of clearly there's going to be a huge positive economic benefit from the data centers, the build and operating of them. But in terms of wider and longer, maybe longer term, in terms of jobs, supply chain opportunities, any thoughts as to how what you're doing benefits the wider economy?
Yeah. So as I say, our model is that we will take the sites to ready to build. So we'll have got all the land rights, we've got the grid, we'll have got the planning, and we'll have packaged that up, and then we'll sell that to a tier one developer operator. Uh, so with the job side of it, there's going to be thousands of construction jobs during the construction phase, and then there's going to be approximately 150 roughly plus full-time employees on each of these campuses. The and those are the sort of numbers that we're looking at. So there's a lot. So from an employment point of view, that's relatively significant for us in the central belt of Scotland. So we're talking about roughly 400, 500 jobs.
Okay, and I guess one well needs to ask of the projects you've named them after Stoic philosophers, which suggests a sort of values-driven approach. I think we got is it Cato, Rufus, and Aurelius, I think are the names. But in terms of just was there a sort of real reason behind that? Was it just a sort of fun thing to do, or was it demonstrating sort of strength, resilience, etc. that you want to be a hallmark or hallmarks of the project?
I think it was a bit of both. I mean, I think Stoicism is a very as owner and founder of the company. I think Stoicism is a very positive. Uh, if you look into like meditations written by Marcus Aurelius, there's a lot of good things and it's all good things within it that you can take from it. And when we looked at these projects, we thought, right, how can we really make them stand out and be something that will be globally known and but in a positive way. The Stoics just really hit the mark for us. I mean, at the end of the day, the Stoics were all philosophers, so there's thinking there. So we're then looking at AI, which is obviously the new generation of thinking and how that's going to evolve. And the goodness that comes from Stoics, we want that to be embedded into the AI that we create because it's a double-edged sword, as we all know, with AI, and we want to make sure that what we bring to the global, our bit that we bring to it is going to be a very positive thing. So that's why, and other bits to it. There's a bit of fun in there as well. It's going to start. It's like when we did a major pump storage project up at Loch Ness. We called it Red John. It's now called Loch Lanarkshire, but it was a very standout name, and so from a point of view of people getting it noticed and the right people then buying it and taking it forward, it very much hits the mark when it comes to that.
Okay, and in terms of the three sites, I think you've already secured grid connections and the land rights. I think you've explained. Um, how important are those sort of foundations in terms of project timelines, operational readiness? Because we hear a lot of potential problems or real problems with the timeframes of when power becomes available, how that impacts data center projects. So just how positive is it that you've got both grid connections, land rights sort of already there?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. There's going to be it's a huge race, as you know, Philip, globally, and there'll be the winners and the ones that don't. We've been working on these for around about 2 years now, so the land rights are fully secured because we've got options to purchase for the full campuses. There was a grid moratorium in the UK that ended or started in February this year. So if you didn't have your grid connection by February, the whole opportunity closed, and that's opening up again next year. So if anyone's not got their grid in for their data centers yet, then I would guess it's probably too late. So we've got those grid connections in time. We've got grid offers. So having those, the most fundamental thing when you talk to developers time is the grid connection. Because we've been working in the energy market for 15 years, we've got several different solutions to get early connection dates. We expect all our sites will have connections in third to fourth quarter 2027. That's vital to get these projects built.
Okay, and in terms of any sort of other risk factor, I mean, it sounds like you've covered those bases anyway, but are there any other sort of risk factors you're monitoring during planning and construction, as say maybe isn't strictly speaking your problem, but just anything that could be a potential bump in the road, or is it all looking good?
Planning's looking great. We've worked very closely with the local councils and the government, and we really listen to the community. That's absolutely essential for anything we do. So we go out and we have community meetings, which we've done for all of our projects, and we've really listened, and then we've changed things to really make sure the public are happy. But every location we have done is very selective to make sure that we're not putting in a location that's going to have a negative impact on the local people. Everyone we've found so far, not everyone, but majority, you'll never get everyone, but the majority of people in the local areas have been extremely supportive for these projects, for the jobs, just for the investment that's going to come into the areas. It's been great. So, but that's because we're picking the right locations. Risk wise is it's just foot to the floor. Getting these projects as ready as humanly possible. And as I say, we're talking to several developers just now and then partnering up with the right developer to build these out and get them operational. So no more risks than what we would have done in residential or wind or energy storage. It's a different technology for us, but we'll brought in the experts to advise us accordingly. So yeah, there's hundreds of risks, but that's what we do.
And in terms, just interested in terms of your sort of talking to the local community, clearly the hyperscalers will ultimately build and own that facility. Are you able to sort of at least suggest to the community what, the benefits? Because I'm thinking, for example, is waste heat reuse something that is, you're
Yeah.
aware of might be possible, or I guess, yeah, what are you able to tell the community that is likely to happen from the actual construction of the data center?
Yeah, so waste heat is something that we're focusing in on for we're trying to see if we can create district heating in each of the areas. Now, it's quite difficult to do for retrofit, so existing houses that are there to put that in, as you know, it's not straightforward, but we are going further down that road to see if that is possible for some of the local housing there and any new housing developments that are happening in that area. That's a much easier proposition to get that heat to those. And then we were looking at the normal things for the heat, as in we're talking to farmers to see if they're interested in putting up greenhouses for fruit and stuff like that, tomatoes, strawberries, things like that. Uh, and we're just constantly researching and we're constantly talking to people to say, well, it's almost like, what do you want? And if we can do it, then we'll do it because there's enough in this to be able to go that extra mile for people. So it's not just building these projects; it's actually trying to make a difference in the area. Now, I'm high level, so I've got some stuff here that notes from from a planner which might help. Sustainability. So not just green power, we're integrating heat use, circular construction, biodiversity improvements, wetland creation, that's a big thing. Our long-term environmental management systems are in place. Uh, exact same as the very high standards that we apply to our energy projects. So, there's a lot of biodiversity that we're going to be doing in the area as well. So there's good in employment, there's good in investment, there's good in biodiversity, and as I say, that heat element, we're really digging into that to see how we can really help the community with that and benefit them.
Okay, and I've sort of been working on the assumption that what you're building are sort of AI data centers for this boom. Is that right? And if that is the case, are there any specific sort of design elements that you're aware of, that will obviously enable that AI, the sort of high density, high potentially high power usage that AI requires?
Well, each one's got a big footprint. Each one's over 100 acres. There's going to be potentially up to six within the campus, there'll be potentially up to 6 units, which will be up to 2 stories. So they can be up to over 30 meters in height. And that's what will show the local communities, which has not gone down negatively. Uh, we'll be designing them, again, I'm high level, so please excuse my knowledge, but we'll be designing them for GPU clusters with very high density. We've got several liquid cooling options that we're just drilling in on, but giving the developer those options. Uh, and obviously, we've got the ability to scale into gigawatts. Uh, and everything about these sites is built around supporting AI at industrial scale. So hopefully that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And in terms of the sites, I mean, are you potentially going to have three different hyperscalers own them, or is it the idea that the one hyperscaler will
Yeah,
assume
no, the
ownership
idea
of the
is
whole thing?
I'd love just one to take them on. I mean, it's in total it's 1.54 gigawatts. The Stoics as one. So for a beautiful journey to look back on this journey and look back on it, I would hope it's one developer that takes them on. I mean, a way to look at it is it's like a parent and 2 kids. The most advanced one being Cato, which is 600 megawatts. What we're also doing as part of it is we're going to connect them. They're all going to be interconnected with dark fiber. So they'll all work as one brain almost, if you want to look at it as how I look at it in my mind as a novice in this sector. Uh, so yeah, the idea is as one, which is super exciting because that makes it that puts it on the global map, not just on the UK or European map.
Yeah, and actually, to that point about the connectivity, again, what you can share, you're going to connect them together, and in terms of then how they connect on to, whether it's subsea cables, are you aware of how
Yeah,
good the
yeah,
connectivity is?
we're
Yeah.
good connectivity up north and then over to I think it's Norway and south as well. So into England and then into Europe. So we're working with the best people in the industry on that to compile that all for our data room just now for what is existing cable that's there and then cable that we can put in very quickly within a matter of 12 to 18 months. If there's any additional routes needed. So we've got that very well covered. As I say, what we do, Philip, which is important, is as I say, we start off in residential, then wind, and then energy storage, and now uh, data centers. So pivoted into 4 different sectors. I look at how we work as a company is there'll be a list of we call it gap analysis. For a wind farm, it might have been it was 67 points of gap analysis. You had to tick those boxes to know you had a robust project. When we did pump storage hydro, these are huge, big infrastructure projects. Uh, there have been over 300 points of gap analysis. Similar to this, I mean, you might say, oh, there's only the planning, the grid, and the land rights those are the key components. But then when you break it all up and it grows arms and legs, there's component, it just turns into hundreds of different wee pieces. We make sure all those boxes are tick. That's what we're good at. So it could be for wind, it could be for AI, it could be for anything. It doesn't matter so long as we make sure that when it goes to the developer, a nice analogy I like to use is you're a developer. Let's say you're Google. I'm going to hand you a lovely jigsaw box with a beautiful data center on the front of it. And when I hand you that jigsaw box, you know for sure when you complete with us that every single piece is going to be in that jigsaw. That's what we do.
That's brilliant. And maybe just finally, in terms of your thoughts as to how the Stoics will sort of impact the broader UK data center landscape and maybe be something of a sort of flagship project for in terms of influencing future development. Just your thoughts as to what you think the Stoics will bring to the market.
Well, I really hope, as I said, that due to the experience and relationships we have in the renewable energy sector, is that we can get these developed with the right developer that puts them on the map, the global map for renewable positive AI data centers that people will hopefully then look to replicate globally. Uh, that's what we're working towards. I mean, I see because my world has been renewables for the last 15 years or so. I see that the volume of data centers that are going in, like what we're doing and others, is that, as I said, that's going to create more renewables onto the system to get us all to net zero. So more investment. The country's going to have energy security because we're going to have all this renewables. We're going to have energy storage. So when there's no wind or sun, you'll have the energy storage to keep us going. With all the interconnectors that go to Europe, the UK can become an absolute energy powerhouse, but also an AI powerhouse because we've got all this renewables to give us energy security, but also to power the data centers. And then we can actually, if we do enough, which I believe we can then become an exporter of pure renewable energy into Europe and allow Europe and other guys to follow what we're doing. But it's gonna be great for the country. It's just gonna put us back into top tier global powerhouse. That's my belief.
Okay, that's been fantastic to chat, and thank you so much for sharing insights as to what's going on with the Stoics development, and then your thoughts a bit more generally about the industry and renewables. So, Mark, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Philip. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.